Hi everyone, and welcome to the light of the EmpathPreneur. I just recently started using the term of EmpathPreneur because it just made sense with the clients that I work with. But before I talk more about the EmpathPreneur, I want to start with a little bit of a background and a story. For those who know me or don't know me, there's some in the group that know me. My name is Isabel Hunt. I'm a life transformation coach, a speaker, as well as an author. And I teach people, and especially empaths, how to use their emotions as a guide instead of as an obstacle, or trying to avoid it or to numb it. And that is pretty much just in a nutshell, but I want to keep it short. Just as a little bit of a background. I'm originally from Germany. I grew up and was born in Germany, but I moved to the United States a couple years ago, almost 9 years ago, I believe. And that's where I also started my entrepreneurial journey. And the way I came to the US is actually a quite weird story, but that might be a story for another time. The story that I want to talk with you about today is when I was really young. I probably was about 7 years old, and again, I grew up in East Germany, so I lived in a small apartment with my siblings, and I have 4 younger siblings and my parents, and one night, I think I was about 7 or 8 years old, I remember that I woke up. I sat in my bed. It was the middle of the night. I sat in my bed. I started screaming, and I had this really horrible pain in my neck. And I remember falling back into the pillow. And from that time, I didn't really feel anything. I know that my siblings called my parents, and then my parents came running and called the family doctor in the middle of the night, but he even wasn't sure what to do. And the weird thing was, we had bunk beds, and mine was about 7 feet up. And so it was really hard for them to even move me down because I couldn't move. I couldn't feel anything. Everything was just numb. And I realized that suddenly I was able to watch myself from the outside. I was able to watch everything that was going on. And I just felt this really deep peace. I didn't feel the pain. I just felt so restful and peaceful. And it was just really beautiful. And eventually, I was back in my body and I was able to feel the whole pain. And after a couple days that I didn't start to feel any better, where I vomited and it was just really, really bad, my parents took me to the hospital. It was probably 1 or 2 days later. And there they diagnosed a severe head trauma. Now, I always say it, you can only create a head trauma the Isabel way. Like, I did it. I don't know how you do it in the middle of the night and falling back into the pillow, because I know for a fact that I didn't hit anything. There was nothing. Even if I would have hit the wall, it wouldn't have created such a severe head trauma. And I was fine after about 2 weeks. I recovered, but I still have a damage on the 4th, 5th, and 6th vertebrae. And just a couple months ago, throughout my journey as an empath, or an empath warrior, how I call it, I found out that on the 6th vertebra is where you store the emotions, or the stuff, the emotional stuff from other people. Now, we know as an empath you're highly sensitive, and you take on other people's emotional crap. And so what happened during that time, I remember there was like the Kosovo war going on, the civil war and all of that, and I watched the news and I could feel the pain. Like I still remember how panicky I was during that time, just even watching that. And so as a child, I took on all this, and your spine as a child is not as strong as it is as an adult. So what happened, it damaged the energy and the heaviness of those emotions around all the events that were going on back then, were starting to settle on my 6th vertebrae, and that caused the head trauma, the severe head trauma. So that was really, really interesting for me to understand a couple years ago what really happened and what the impact is on an empath, physically, emotionally, as well as mentally. And from that time, from the time of the accident moving forward, nothing ever really felt normal again. I knew now that I could leave my body and I could go wherever I wanted to, but it also drained me a lot. And working with my own coach over the last years helped me to understand that actually leaving my body takes more energy than allowing what I need to know to come to me. And so that was a huge lesson for me. But also what happened is that from that time on, I realized I have special gifts. There's something different about me. And one of them is that I started to have real visions, prophetic visions that eventually became reality for some people that I had the visions about, or even about myself. And one of the visions that I was talking about earlier, was at 12 years old that I had the vision that I would be coming to the US. And actually, interesting enough, back then I didn't know what I was going to do, but today I know I'm doing exactly what I was dreaming about at the age of 12. But one other significant gift is that I started to see colors around people, like everything just appeared in colors. So the energy everyone and everything is sending out, my brain translates into colors, which is kind of awesome. And it helps me with my work as a transformation coach as well as a speaker, because I can identify the people in the audience as well as my clients, and I can see what is the meaning behind the color, what is it saying about you. And so that's kind of a really awesome and unique gift. And I actually found a few people who have a similar gift, or start to say, okay, I didn't acknowledge it as a gift, but now that you're talking about it, I do too. So this is what changed for me. And it was through these experiences and feelings and sensations that came with them that I learned that I am more emotionally sensitive than others. So after many more lessons throughout, especially the last 10 years during my journey from moving from Germany to the USA, I discovered that I'm an empath, or rather an empath warrior. So what I want to talk with you about is more about what actually is an empath, and therefore an EmpathPreneur, someone who has a business, and how can we really boldly shine our light as an empath when we really just want to hide behind the blanket, wrap ourselves into a blanket and crawl underneath the bed and never come out. I'm sure some of you can relate to that. I know what I'm talking about, especially as an entrepreneur, when you have to go out and you have to find clients and you have to interact with people, you have to be present. Being an empath is quite the challenge, so we have to do things a little bit different than other people usually would. But for those who are not familiar with the term, what actually is an empath? Empaths, like me, are highly sensitive people whose mirror neurons are more developed than other people's. So mirror neurons, for those who don't know, are a kind of brain cell that responds similarly when we experience something ourselves and when we observe someone having or when we observe someone else's experience. So for example, I feel the same way when I'm angry and when I watch someone else being angry. Like for me, there's not much of a difference. Especially in the beginning of my journey, I just felt like I'm taking on everyone else's emotions. And now I'm able to distinguish that more and can just distance myself from it, but it was really hard. So empaths often have a very special gift, like, as I mentioned, having visions, prophetic dreams, seeing auras and colors around people. You may have a very unique connection with animals or with nature, and we often can sense everything that is going on with other people. And honestly, some empaths even have all of that together. Like, I know the more I practice, the more I'm in alignment with who I am and my purpose, the more I see all of those gifts coming together, which is sometimes a little bit overwhelming, but I'm starting to learn to use them, really see them as a gift and be able to use them effectively. Empaths are pretty much affected by the energy of people around them. Some of us are even affected by world events and their energy that is surrounded by those events. And we have the ability to intuitively feel other people's emotions. But we're not only limited to emotions, we also often experience physical sensations or even spiritual urges. Like we feel that there's more to life, that there's more that we're connected to. And we can also easily figure out, for those who know what I'm talking about, we can easily figure out the intention of others and if they're lying or if they're not true to themselves, if they're not authentic. So that's kind of a great gift to have. So being an empath is not something you can learn. You are born with it. It is simply part of who you are. And it's more about learning how to handle, how to deal, and how to develop that skill than to avoid it, to numb it, and to just say, okay, no, I'm crazy. Maybe you even take medications for depression, anxiety. But many empaths experience, as I mentioned just now, experience physical challenges like constant fatigue, chronic pain, autoimmune illness, environmental sensitivities, but also depression, anxiety, panic attacks. Because when our system gets overstimulated, overwhelmed, we just start to shut down, and we create the panic. And that's just literally a sign from our body that, hey, you need to stop, something needs to change. So empaths are often also quiet achievers. Many of us are artists, creatives, healers, social workers, psychologists, anything that has to do with helping other people. We want to help while we literally forget about ourselves. So we tend to solve problems, think and study intensively to figure things out that are happening around us, that are happening to us, that are happening inside of us. We just feel like we need to have answers to truly be who we are and to truly be able to exist in this world. Now, empaths are also mostly introverts, yet they can be intro and extroverts. I personally have coined the term empath warrior because from working with my clients, some of us are empath with a very big life-changing mission on our heart. So empath warriors are people like me who are world visionaries and feel as if our warrior heart can take any challenge in life if we're just shown how to understand more of what's going on inside of us. So our empathic self often keeps us from living out our warrior side because we tend to withdraw from the noise of the world and avoid the physical and emotional challenge that we're faced with in life. So there are a couple of things as an empathpreneur. As I mentioned, it is a struggle because we don't have the typical business model. It is so difficult for us to hustle. We know that, or follow all the business gurus. This is what you have to do. This is the system you need. This is the people you need to reach out to. This is how you create your message. All of those, this is how to, and you should. And they tend to overwhelm us. So most empaths identify as highly sensitive. And eventually they're just like, okay, I'm not being an entrepreneur. That's not for me. And that's might be true. If you really fully an introverted empath, it may not be for you, the entrepreneurship world. And that's perfectly fine because we still need you. You're literally the backbone of the others who have that bigger message. So it's still a collective mission that we're on as empath and empath warriors. So don't think you're out of the woods. You still have to do your part for us, other people, for those who feel more the extrovert side of us, to be able to go out there and be on our mission. I feel like there's a special bond between highly sensitive people who experience those gifts that I've just mentioned. And to really shine our light, I want to give you a couple tips that I think will help you, or just give you some confirmation, like, okay, I really needed that affirmation today, the confirmation. For one, stop buying into all the business strategies. I always recommend for people who are empathpreneurs, how I call them, to find someone, a coach, a mentor, or a tutor that can support you in understanding more of who you are as an empath, but also help you to stay grounded and focused being an entrepreneur. I always say, okay, the strategy and accountability is also important for your business. However, if you have coaches that prioritize on goal setting and accountability and strategy, business strategy, those are probably not the ones you want to work with, because they will overwhelm you. Eventually you shut down, and then eventually you just give up and you resign and like, whatever, I'm just gonna be, for example, mom and wife, you know? And so try to work with someone who really understands the holistic and spiritual side of being an empath as well as a business owner. And there are a lot of great people out there that can support you with that, but it will really help you to understand who you are and not just trying to get lost and lose your shit. Sorry, that can happen. That we just totally lose it and then you give up. But you can't give up because you really have a purpose that will impact the world, okay? So you have the responsibility. You owe yourself and your abilities, your gifts to the world. I know that sounds a little harsh, but at the same time, if you're not implementing your gifts and really living out your calling, you're also responsible for what is not happening because of that. And it's just something to keep in mind. Another point that is really important is to understand, if you really want to shine your light, that you have to be in alignment with who you truly are, with everything, your gifts, your message, your mission. You can't hide behind your message. You have to step into your message and step in front of it for people to really see what it is about that you are about as a business owner as well as an empath. Something else that is really, really important as an empathpreneur to be able to shine your light and to be bold is to set very, very clear boundaries. I know how it is. The higher you take it as an empathpreneur, the more exposure you have, the more exhausting it gets. You feel like you have to rest more, but at the same time you struggle with the thought of, well, but I need to do this and this and this and that. And with that higher level and that more exposure, this responsibility comes with it. And trust me, even now after quite a few years, I still buy into it every now and then I get really exhausted and have a burnout and crush and just I crash and it just never works. So the higher you take your business, the more you have to take care of yourself, because eventually you have critics, you have people who give you feedback, and the challenge is to not have those become your thoughts. And you start a spiral down into doubt and eventually withdrawal and quitting. And so be very clear on your boundaries and the limits that you can set for yourself. And another part is for you to understand that your thoughts matter. So if you are not in alignment with your beliefs, with your true essence, your core, who you truly are, your beliefs and your stories are not either. And what you're sending out is total confusion. People feel kind of pushed away from you. So your thoughts have amazing, amazing power in how you reach people, how people respond to you, because thoughts are energy. Everything is energy. So we're reacting towards each other, and everyone, like we know today through scientific experiments and research, that our thoughts have an immediate impact on people around us within a radius of about 25 miles. And we also know then this has a ripple effect. We impact their thoughts, they impact other people's thoughts. So be aware, if you really want to shine your light, that your thoughts are in alignment with who you are and what you want other people to know about themselves as well as about you. Something else to really pay attention to is your emotional world. I know a lot of empathpreneurs get stuck in the emotion because we don't just feel our own, we also feel everyone else's, even our clients and people that we don't even have anything to do with. Or if you're the one who is on stage, you start to feel your audience's energy. That's why a lot of empaths have blackouts and we're like, oh my gosh, I forgot everything I wanted to say, because your brain is trying to figure out the energy that it's receiving on a much more intense level than other people would. So for you to understand your emotional world is highly, highly recommended. So that also includes clearing trapped emotions. Over time, Dr. Bradley Nelson even says he's created the emotions code. And so when he says that on average, we have about 300 trapped emotions within our body, because again, emotions are energy, our body is energy, and it resonates with certain parts of your body and even organs. But that would take too long to get more into it, but just be aware that everything is energy and resonates with parts of your body. So emotions that you even receive that may not be your own may get trapped within your body. And now if an average person has about 300, now imagine how many an empath could potentially have that are trapped. I know it about myself. I had so many trapped emotions about money blocks, my health, the beliefs I had about other people, how I come across, what I'm capable of. All those stories just showed up as trapped emotions, and once I released them, like literally my business exploded. Now I don't even know what to really respond to. I get emails and calls. I can't even respond to all of it, but it was just such an experience, such a profound experience to release those, where I'm like, okay, wow, I can actually now really be myself, and it becomes easier to distinguish what is my stuff and what is other people's stuff. So be aware of the wounds that are inside of you and the emotions that are trapped. Now, it's kind of hard to release those emotions by yourself unless you have really, really high awareness. However, you can still trick yourself. Like for me, it's really hard to release my own emotions. I usually ask someone else to do it for me who is practiced in that technique and who knows how to, because you can still fool yourself. Like, oh no, that doesn't sound right. That's not an emotion I've experienced, I don't think. And so you kind of try to talk yourself out. So it's not really working very well in your favor if you do it yourself. But if you know of someone who does that, ask for help, ask for support, ask if they can take a look. Hey, I'm really stuck here with this client. Is there something that I need to be releasing about? Okay. And so being aware that you have trapped emotions, not just of yourself, but also from other people, is something that is really important for you to understand, to be able to shine your light and to be more bold, because it's all baggage that it's weighing you down, and eventually it, again, may lead to you withdrawing, depressive phases, anxiety, panic attacks, because your body's just so overstimulated that it can't stay in balance, or that it's really hard to stay in balance. And another thing, the last thing that I want to mention is an EmpathPreneur to shine your light is to be grounded, to feel safe. A lot of us empaths do not feel safe at any time, especially if you're a warrior out there. You always feel under attack, no matter how that would look like, but you always feel like you're under attack. So with that said, one exercise my own coach, Jennifer Riccio, is always telling me is focus on your tailbone and your heart. And just ask the divine God to help you to feel safe and protected and provided for. That always helps me to really step into what I'm called to. For example, when I work on speeches, I often feel like, okay, this is something I already said, other people already said it, and I start into that down spiral and doubt everything I even wanted to do. But it's more grounded, or the source of that is more into, I don't feel safe to bring this message out, and I don't feel like I'm provided for if I do. And so I do this exercise before each time I create something, or when I feel like I'm starting to have doubts, and that really helps me to feel grounded, to know that that I can trust myself, that I can trust God, that I can trust the people around me, even if they do stuff that may not be trustworthy. But that is not really part of that's not really the part that counts. But it's just knowing that you are safe and that you're provided for, no matter your circumstances around you. Your soul, your core, your essence is still safe. And I think as empath warriors, it's something to know, that we are capable of so much more when we really step into that safe place. And actually, I said that was the last point, but I want to say one more thing I think that can help you too. On my website, isabelhunt.com, I have a document. It's called 5 Simple Ways to Protect Yourself from Negativity. If you want to shine your light, you have to be aware and to take care of yourself by protecting yourself emotionally, mentally, as well as energetically and spiritually. So there are 5 simple exercises. It's free opt-in. Or if you're interested, send me an email. I can shoot shoot it or send it to you over in an email to you. It doesn't matter to me. I just want you to really feel safe and to be protected, to be able to step into what you're called to. But one exercise that I can totally share with you that pretty much many people know, and you may even already know about that, to feel protected when you get up in the morning, the best thing to do is to meditate, even if it's just for 5 minutes, and to envision yourself into a bubble of light. That has helped me tremendously to start my day and to not start my day out with anxiety and like, oh my gosh, what do I have to do? Who do I have to encounter today? Who do I have to talk to? Who do I have to work with that I may not want to? And those are things that really help those who are empathpreneurs to be the most powerful that you can be, to truly shine your light and to be out there and to be bold. Trust yourself. You are needed. Go within if you doubt or if you have anything that where you start to feel you want to withdraw, you don't want to get your light out there. Just go within. Just hear your heart. Your heart is always speaking to you, and it's a powerful way to connect on a much, much deeper level. So step into what is true to you. Connect with like-minded people so you don't feel totally crazy about what you experience and how you experience life. And one thing that I want to mention too, I think it's pretty neat. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and she suddenly had like a divine download, and she said, you know what? I feel like it's hard for us to stay connected to one specific person who then become close friends. I was like, yeah, you're right. It's sometimes hard because they know that you know something that they don't want you to know. It's almost like you can see through a wall that they have built up. And so she's like, empath warriors are world visionaries. And maybe if we would connect so much more with more individuals, like if we would have more close friends, then we would get distracted from the overall picture. So if you can relate to that and you say, oh my gosh, yeah, that's totally me, just know that you're not that there's nothing crazy about you, but it might just be part of your calling to connect on a bigger stage, on the world stage. Like for me, I can feel world events. So just be aware of it and feel encouraged. There's nothing wrong with you in what you feel. You do have, however, a calling and a purpose that connects with people on such a deep level, and such a profound level, that we really, really can have a positive impact because we have the gift to see beyond the walls that people have set up for themselves. We can truly connect with their heart and their soul, and this is what people yearn for. And when we allow ourselves to do that, by still staying protected within ourselves, we help people to stand the ground for themselves, and that awakens a sense of responsibility for each other. And once we can feel the sense of responsibility for each other, we create a collective consciousness that helps us to acknowledge who we are as a world society. So again, I want to encourage you as an empathpreneur, if you could relate to this talk and you really were like, oh my gosh, this is me, don't hesitate to connect with like-minded. If you have any questions, reach out, let me know. I'm here to support you. Connect with my group. It's called World Visionaries United. We have an amazing group, quite interactive. And just let me know if there are any questions that you have. And I may not be able to respond right away, but I get to it, I promise. So if you have any questions, let me know. And also don't forget about what you can win. You can win a free 30-minute emotions clearing session. It's remotely, so wherever you're at, you don't have to be local. Find the post. It should be somewhere in the group, and sign up. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.